What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. If this is your first time viewing this channel, I hope you all subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe button. And for those of you who have been subscribed for a while, I hope you all hit that like button. Please hit the like button for me. I got to get them likes up. Again, to the first time viewers, I have content for everybody from sports news to world news to entertainment news, so on and so forth, right? But today, this morning, I want to talk about a post that I saw on Facebook, and I found it very interesting. There's a post of this white young lady. She's a graduate of an HBCU, and she's also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, right? Delta Sigma Theta is a black sorority founded by black women on the campus of a HBCU, Howard University, one of the most historic HBCUs around. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is it is within the Divine Nine. The Divine Nine is comprised of black fraternities and sororities created by black folks for black people at the time of their inception, right? At the time of its creation. And so this picture of this white young lady being a Delta, it sparked conversation, and it was asking black people, how do we feel about non-black people, whether it be white people, whether it be Asian people, whether it be Hispanic people, becoming members of black Greek-lettered organizations? And in the comment section, I saw people who were against it. I saw people who were for it. I saw people who were indifferent. And I saw people who were for it under certain conditions, right? And while I recognize that, and I definitely recognize that the reach of black fraternities and sororities has expanded vastly, in large part due to movies like Stomp the Yard. Stomp the Yard was a movie it was displaying black Greek life and life at a HBCU, at a historically black college and university. And a lot of people saw this movie and they were attracted to the movie at first because they saw Chris Brown on the posters, but then they saw, like, oh my God, what is this going on at, these black colleges and universities? This life seems to be really fun. Black fraternities and sororities joining that seems to be really cool. And I know a lot of people, even non-white, even non-black people, watch these movies. And I recognize that also HBCUs have never excluded anybody. HBCUs were created to educate black folks because we could not go to the predominantly white institutions, but they never excluded white people or any other race from coming to our schools, coming to the schools at all. What with me saying that though? So I recognize that our fraternities and sororities are going to be attractive to non-black people. My thing is this: I have no problem with that at all. However, if a non-black person is going to be a part of these black Greek letter organizations, I'm okay with it under certain conditions, and I'll get to that later. But first, let me provide a conversation or an explanation for those who are against, who have a problem with it, right? I'll explain why. I'll explain why some people have pushback against non-black people being a part of these sororities and fraternities. And let me just get into the history of these organizations. These black Greek letter organizations were created to provide black folks with a safe haven and refuge from white oppression, right? That they, not just white oppression that they face on campus, but white oppression that they face in their everyday life. These organizations help brothers and sisters build bonds and establish camaraderies and a network with each other to rise above the oppression of white America. The sororities and fraternities within the Divine Nine were established to help black American people recognize that they could be much more than labor workers, right? They could be much more than labor workers at the time, right? And that they can achieve things beyond their wildest dreams. During this time, a lot of these organizations were created in the early 1900s. The fraternity that I'm a part of, Kappa Alpha Psi, was founded in 1911, right? During these times, black people were looked at as extremely less than even human. We were only thought of as being labor workers, custodians. The founders of my fraternity were lawyers, dentists, educators, entrepreneurs, things that black people were told they could never be, right? And so they came together, these black intellectuals came together to create something that would also influence other black people across the world and across the country to recognize they could be much more than the label placed on them by white America, right? And so during these time period, man, and again, this was a sensitive time. This was a time where my founders, my fraternity, the fraternity that I'm a part of, Kappa Alpha Psi, was founded in the Ku Klux Klan backyard, in the KKK's backyard in Indiana, right? But these men had the temerity, the gall, the courage to say, you know what? We're going to create this for our black people, and we don't care who is against it. We don't care what people are going to say. This is something that is needed, and we need this to uplift each other. My founders were sitting outside of the classroom getting a lesson from outside the window. Couldn't even be in the classrooms at the time. Getting a lesson sitting outside of the windows, getting lessons, just to become, to achieve things that they really wanted to achieve things that they really wanted that they really aspired to be, right? And so these fraternities were also created because black men and women could not join the white fraternities and sororities. So our ancestors created our own organizations that were special to our people. And within these organizations, we, or black people, exchange cultural information, historical information, and our people, as forward-thinking revolutionaries, put their heads together to help advance black America and the black communities in the regions they were located, right? And then these organizations had chapters all across the United States, and they later expanded to across the world. But in the early stages, they were expanding to all different states across the United States as a network to help black folks, come together and build. And I would say this. So with me describing all of that and laying that foundation for you all, I say that we as black people, we have that history within these organizations to hold near and dear to our hearts, right? When we hear information like that, a lot of us, it strikes a chord within us because we know this is our ancestors who, they were belittled. They were discriminated against in the worst way, and they rose above it in order so that us, their grandchildren, their great grandchildren will be able to function in this society, function much better than they did, right? And so we have a connection to that. It makes us feel like we are a part of something much bigger than us, something that was significant for us to come together and help each other build in many ways. A white person or a non-black individual does not have that same historical bond. They don't have that cultural connection with the plight of black American people to relate to the founding purpose of these organizations, which causes a lot of black people to wonder, well, why would a non-black person want to be a part of these organizations? What made you want to join, right? Because they don't have that same connection. Now, I will say that there are whites, there are very few, but few that I know at least, right? I don't know every white person in a black Greek letter organization, but there are some who grew up in some black areas and they saw members of Kappa Alpha Psi, Omega Psi Phi, Alpha Phi Alpha, or Delta Sigma Theta, Alpha Kappa Alpha, Zeta Phi Beta, so on and so forth, Sigma Gamma Rho, and all of that. They saw individuals of these organizations, and they really looked up to those people, which influenced them to be a part of the organizations. However, you have other people who just came to campus, and they saw it, and they just liked it, and they gravitated to it, and it was what it was, right? But you see black people having pushback to it because these organizations were created by our people, to help us, again, rise above white oppression, to help us learn how to navigate through the plight of our people and keep pushing and keep going. So black people would look at it like, well, what connection does a white person or a non-black person have to it, right? Black people join these fraternities based upon legacy. Their mom, their fathers, their grandfathers, their grandmothers, their uncles, their aunts join these organizations. And they like, man, I want to do what my granddad did. I want to do what my father did. I want to do what my mom did, right? So we have the cultural significance of these organizations, the historical significance of these organizations. Black folks connect to it, right? And some black people just look at it too like it's just something cool. But to most people, to a lot of people, not most people, to a lot of people, a lot of black folks within black Greek letter organizations, or even outside of black Greek letter organizations, to just regular black folks, some people would look like a white member would only be attracted to these organizations because of the fact that it looks cool, or it's just something that they think is cool or whatever, right? So because they don't have the same historical bonds or same connection to it. So for me, if a person joins these organizations, a non-black person, I'm okay with it as long as that non-black person is an ally to black people in every sense of the word, right? And I've seen people join these organizations that are non-black, and some of them aren't really allies. They're allies when they're around us. But then when they go home with their people, they don't really be allies in a lot of ways, right? When they're amongst their family and friends, they aren't allies for real. And to be an ally is to when we're in these organizations, man, we have panel discussions we have forums about the plight of black American people, right? We talk about the issues plaguing our community. We talk about, police brutality. We talk about systemic racism, right? We talk about these things. And so white individuals in these fraternities and sororities, they hear it. They're there for these conversations. They hear our, the struggle. They hear it. And this is, when they join these organizations, this is the time for us to exchange information and for them to hear about our culture, recognize our culture, understand it, and understand our plight. And so as a black American man, I would want those non-black members to take these conversations back to their people, right? Not only just have these conversations, make them aware, call them out, call your people out on wrongdoings against black American people. Call them out for not hiring black folks within their organizations, right? Call them out for discriminated against black people, right? I would want them to use their privilege to be an aid to black people. If you're going to be a part of these black Greek letter organizations, that's how I feel, right? If you're going to be a part of these organizations that were founded for the upliftment of black people, right? When you come into these organizations, we make you try to understand the plight of black American people as best as possible, because unfortunately, some people will never understand it until they unless they live in his skin, right? But since you can't live in his skin, you're a part of this organization, black folks allow you in, we're going to have to educate you on these things, make you aware of it, make you knowledgeable, make you understand these things that we're talking about, so that you can go and tell your people, black folks not just complaining, and that when they tell us to pick ourselves up by the bootstrap, a lot of times black people don't even have a boot to put on their feet, right? These people, when non-black students join historically black fraternity, when they join black Greek letter organizations, or when they come to HBCUs in general, when they become friends with these people, with black folks in these organizations, and they're a part of these organizations, they see a lot of black folks are first generation college students. Their parents, some of them didn't go to college, right? They're trying to figure out their way on their own. They're trying to change. They're trying to make a change. They're trying to break generational curses within their families, right? When they bond with us and they come in these fraternities, they recognize that, hey, a lot of your fraternity brothers, they are coming from conditions that are extremely harsh. They're coming from poverty-stricken situations. I'm stuttering. They're coming from poverty-stricken situations. And the conditions of where they come from are terrible because the communities are not poured into properly. White America does not care about the conditions of Inglewood in Chicago, Illinois. White America does not care about the conditions in certain parts of the Bronzeville neighborhood in Chicago, Illinois. Right? So we would hope that, you take these conversations back to your people. You recognize that we not just complaining about stuff. These are real issues that we are plagued with. And you be an ally in that way. You use your privilege to help get resources, if you can, to these black communities that your black fraternity brothers and sisters come from. Get resources in these communities if you can, right? Because some people, and I'm not saying all white folks are connected, but some of them are really connected. And they can make a difference if they use their voice, again, to be an ally. So I want non-black people to know that joining the fraternity, I want non-black people that are a part of Greek letter organizations to know that getting questions and criticisms about joining a fraternity or sorority is not to ostracize you, right? People just want to know if the intentions in joining these organizations are good, or is it just something that you're doing to fit in with black people, essentially just to fit in with the black folks on campus. Because black folks don't want nobody just cosplaying or engaging in cosplaying. Is that what they call it, cosplay, whatever? Yeah. Some non-black members, you know, I've seen non-black members of fraternities and black fraternities and sororities handle the questions and critiques well, and others get upset when they get these questions. But understand this: non-black members of these black Greek letter organizations, you can't come into a black organization with black history riddled all throughout it and get confused that people are asking you what was your purpose in joining. It's natural for them to ask that. The same way I couldn't get mad if a white person asked me why I wanted to join a predominantly white organization, a white fraternity. You know, it comes with the territory. But people just want to know that your intentions are good and that you are being an ally in joining these organizations, not just joining it just because it's something that you just feel like you just join it because it looks cool. And when you leave this HBCU, when you leave this campus, you forget about everything. You know you forget about all your fraternity brothers and sisters' plight. You forget about all of that. You push it back to the back of your mind, and you go on and you continue living life, and you let your family members or you let your friends back home commit discrimination. You allow them to continue discrimination against black folks. That's not okay. If you become a part of these organizations with black people, hey, nah, go back home. You know, you check people that you know, even your friends and family. You check them on their discrimination against black people, on systemic racism, so on and so forth. If you're connected to it in some way, because believe it or not, you know, it's still people who were raised in racist households, you know, or they have racist grandparents, so on and so forth. And so when you come back home, your grandparents have a lot of influence. You come back home and you check them, and you make sure you use your privilege and allow them to allow your people to use their influence to make a change within the black community, to be an ally to us if you're a part of these organizations. And that's how I feel, man. I'm not against non-black people joining these organizations. I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it, for sure. I understand the reach has been massive. There are going to be non-black people in these organizations, without question. But you got to be an ally. If you're gonna do that and you're gonna be a part of these organizations, be an ally to us, because these organizations were, again, initially created as refuge against the oppression of white America to help black folks advance in society, right? And systemic racism is still occurring. Discrimination is still occurring against black folks, right? There's a lot of organizations that black people can never get into. And so if you're a white or non-black individual and you got that influence, no, influence them people, not just to hire your fraternity brothers and sisters, but no, influence them to look at black folks in a way that they probably have never looked at them before, with respect, with dignity. You know what I mean? And it's not me begging white folks to, like, oh my God, look at us for respect and dignity. I'm not with respect and dignity. I'm not begging white people or non-black people to do that. But I'm just saying, if you're going to be a part of something that was created for black people, and the historical connection is that it was created during a time where black people were looked at as just minuscule in society, as next to nothing. If you're going to join these organizations, you have to be an ally in every sense of the word. And again, that does not just mean marching with us when we on campus. That means when we leave campus and you graduate and you're grown, you know, and you're conducting your everyday life after graduation, that you're standing on the principles of these fraternities and sororities. As a non-black member, you're standing on that, and you're recognizing, hey man, these organizations were created, you know, so that black people could rise above, you know, these limitations put on them by white America. So they can so we can come together and establish a network to be able to help us ascend. Because white America had a leg up on us, 2 legs up on us for the longest of time. So we need to create a network to help us ascend. And now I would expect non-black people to be a part of that network and to help build that, to help further that ascension, for sure. Right? If you're going to be a part of these organizations, man. So that's how I feel, man. I'm not against non-black people joining the organizations at all. But again, if you're going to do that, got to be an ally. You know, it's not that black people are making non-black members of Divine Nine fraternities and sororities the enemy. It's just that many of my people want to know that when you as a non-black person join our organizations, we want to know if you're going to stand on the founding purposes of the organization and be an ally to black people all the way around. Not just when you were on campus with us. You know? And that's my take on it. Y'all let me know what y'all think about it in the comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's have some dialogue about it in the comment section, man. I had to take notes because I was trying to articulate certain things in a certain manner, and then I just went off script and just came and spilled from the heart. But I was trying to, follow my note pattern and explain the beginnings, the origins of these fraternities and sororities, and what their objectives were, and what their objectives continue to be. Because these fraternities and sororities, despite having a bad label on them, and people are like, oh, it's Greek stuff, these are fraternities created. They're Greek in the lettering only. They were created by black folks, embedded with black culture, from the steps to to the steps, to the meaning of color, so on and so forth. This is all a lot of black culture, all within these organizations, right? And these organizations have a strong network to help black people get to certain areas that we want to get to help black people, ascend, man, and to help black people come together and recognize, man, we want to be great. We want to be great in this world. We're gonna be great in this world, and we could all have each other as a way to build. So I would want non-black members of these Divine Nine organizations to just, like I said, be an ally and stand on the founding purposes of these organizations. Machiavelli Mills TV, I'm out. Peace.